Hi, Asha.
Hi, Itika.
How are you?
So good to see you.
Cool, cool. Let's get started then.
Yep.
I see people are gradually joining. So let's begin. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this Insta Live. Being a mother of a toddler, I frequently find myself having conversations with my friends about how to encourage kids to read books instead of watching screens all day, which is a big problem right now because all of us have been stuck at home for more than 6 months because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But I frequently feel like what we share with each other is not really scientific, tried and tested sort of information, and it's mostly just hearsay. A lot of things get lost in conversation. So, this is my attempt to stop sharing information in silos and have the most frequently asked questions answered here on this platform. And we have an expert with us, even though she insists that I don't call her an expert, but I would take the liberty of calling her that because Asha here is a mother herself and she's a serial entrepreneur. And right now she runs what is called Kids Book Cafe. I really encourage you to go and check out the website. I have recently discovered it, and it's really a gem, a big help for a mother of a young kid like me. 9 years she has been curating kids books, and she also runs a Facebook community, and a big testament to how great her work is the fact that she has more than 4,300 members on her Facebook community. Let's get started, Asha. The topic today is we are discussing how to raise readers and how our online communities can be of big help during this pandemic. So, Asha, just to warm up, if you could talk us through what is Kids Book Cafe and how did it all started and when did you launch it, etc.
So, thanks for having me here, first of all, Itika, and a very kind intro. Kids Book Cafe is basically it's a niche reading community to help parents and children discover and buy age-appropriate children's books. And this is through peer-to-peer recommendations, reviews, shared experiences. In a nutshell, we're all trying to raise readers together, one childhood at a time, one book at a time. It's as simple as that. So the idea, how did it come about? So as a parent, I think all of us are constantly struggling, whether we're working parents, whether we're stay-at-home parents, whether we're reader parents or not. The question I think all of us keep asking ourselves is, what should our child be reading right now? So I have a 13-year-old, and about 2 years ago, I realized that I was constantly struggling with this, that I don't know what kind of contemporary kid lit is out there. We never had Indian kid lit authors in our time. We only had R.K. Swami, so Swami and Friends. We all grew up on Enid Blyton. And there's just so much more now. There's so much there's so many Indian contemporary publishers, kidlit publishers, and so many amazing authors. And I realized that I am not, up to date, with any of this knowledge, So community building is my forte, I would say. So not an expert in anything, and I'm an aspiring kidlit author. So I said, I need to solve this problem, not just for myself, but for many other parents. A lot of parents would, ping me privately on Facebook, because I share a lot of stuff that, okay, my child who's reading this or whatever. So they would ask me. And a lot of parents, before I would even say, recommend an author, they would always say, link share kar do aap, hum le lenge. So that also, that's when I realized that people want to know, what should my child be reading and where do I get this from? So that's the whole story behind the story.
Okay. Asha, if you could just adjust your camera a little bit because I think you're out of frame. So if you could just lower it a little bit.
Maybe
That's perfect. That's much
lower
better.
as it. Are we better?
Yeah, that's
Just
much
a
better.
second. Let me get something higher. Itika, I'll get something
Sure,
higher. Just a
sure.
sec.
I'll wait for you.
Sorry, because we adjusted it.
No problem. Take your time. It's okay.
Yeah, this is better.
Um,
So we adjusted it, and of course, I saw a single this thing. Am I now? Can you see me, or is it worse?
you need to lower your camera a little bit.
Sorry.
I see and more. You need to lower your camera a little bit. थोड़ा सा center. Move it little to your right.
I'll just move. That's easier.
Yes.
Okay.
I see better. Can you lower your camera a little more, Asha, if that's okay?
Sure. Hang on. It's my cord. If we work without the cord, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So then it's all sorted out. It's basically my
Phone
now.
plug in.
Are you okay? Abhi
Yeah.
theek hai? Okay.
Just
Awesome.
this is much better. Yes. So, Asha, when we were talking a few days back, you were telling me how, the pandemic, we all realize, has thrown up newer challenges for us parents, and how engagement on Kids Book Cafe has sort of increased in the recent days, in the last 6 months. Could you tell us how your community and you and the members on your community have been sort of able to help each other navigate the last 6 months?
So, okay, so during March, the whole lockdown, even Amazon was shut. Okay, so there were no, we're part of the Amazon affiliate program. So all the books that people order via us come through Amazon. So no books were being delivered offline or online. So obviously, and everybody was new to it. Schools were banned, so there's no online school or anything. And parents were getting, really, they were struggling how to keep their kids engaged. All at home suddenly, and you can't go down to play, nothing. So what we did a few things. We said, okay, so I said, okay, let's do this Keep Calm and Read On challenge. It was a reading campaign. I said in the next 15 days for small children, and for bigger children, they could have, taken in a longer period, and just list down 15 books that you have read recently with mini reviews, and you post it on the site, and I will send you a free book. So I said the 50 people to send to post on the community site. Of course, the parent would be posting it. In any case, the parents are more enthusiastic. Yeah, it was just as simple as that. I said I will give 50 free books to my community. And just for I reached out to some Indian authors and publishers, and you won't believe it, they sent me books to, give out.
Okay.
So that was amazing. And after that, all the children, they were so excited after lockdown, when as soon as Amazon was started delivering and courier started delivering, we sent out all these books. And the kids were so excited. All of them wrote reviews and everything. So, it's a really interesting cycle how it goes, So it's like you write, you read, you review in a campaign like that. And not only that, there were smaller kids also. Smaller kids, obviously not all, you have to mix it up, Itika. You can't just tell your child read. And when they're at the toddler stage, they need to do much more. So a lot of parents started sharing engagement activities that they do with their child. Like a lady with, a toddler, she'd take a Ziploc bag, she'd put different colored flowers and petals and different things that are available in her garden and put some water in it and, zip it and it became, you know, like a 3D kind of an engagement activity for the child. So very soon then parents started creating books themselves. That was like, you know, so we kept, you know, sharing ideas, keep calm and engage on, and, you know, like different, keep calm, color on, keep calm, puzzle on. So throughout the whole thing, we kept sharing stuff that we are doing with our kids. So that somehow got us through that lockdown period. And the most amazing thing that I realized is I thought people would, you know, start ordering groceries immediately, you know, once lockdown got over. No, people started ordering books. They started ordering, you know, all sorts of engagement activities, puzzles, colors, everything, art and craft, everything under the sun. And that's when I realized how everybody struggled to keep their kids busy then. And nobody wants to, you know, keep them glued to the screen. Nobody knew that they would, you know, be glued to the screen afterwards. But yeah, so I think these offline activities, when you share it, the whole thing of, you know, experiences.
In fact, I remember when the lockdowns began in March, and there was a discussion about what is essential and what is not. A lot of people were very upset that books are not counted among essential items, because it just suddenly felt like you were locked in the house and you had nothing to do. And of course, you can't, buying toys for a kid is not essential. You can let that go, but having books in the house for adults and kids, in fact, even for seniors in the house, to keep them engaged. If you have to stay indoors, like they say, if you have to go to an isolated island, you carry 5 books with you. It was just almost the same, right? Right.
Yeah.
So, Asha, you've been interacting with a lot of parents of young kids over the last 9 years through your Facebook community. What are some of the most frequently asked questions on the Facebook community? Because I'm asking you this also because, unlike a lot of other Facebook communities, you are one moderator who is there in every question, goes and comments, and is like the most enthusiastic, commenting and sharing her knowledge, etc. So what are the most frequently asked questions that parents of young kids have when it comes to reading and books?
Yeah, I'll come to that. So just one quick thing is the Facebook group is just 21 months old. So it's not that I've had it for a long time. I've been a community builder in India for 9 years, but Kids Book Cafe is very recent. It's my new venture. So it's only been 21 months and not even 2 years since I, you know, started the site and, you know, started building all the content. So coming to your question.
You've built a community of 4,300 plus, growing strongly in less than 2 years, that means.
Yes, less than, and it's all organic. It's all organic. It's basically, I invited all my friends and all of them invited all of their friends. So it's all organic. I haven't spent on marketing at all, nothing. So no, what we call customer acquisition burn, nothing. So yeah, so the most frequently asked questions, of course, is recommendations, age appropriate recommendations, like what should my child is this old and what should he or she be reading. But very frequent are my baby is 13 months old, 6 months old, 10 months old. How can I introduce her to books? What books should I start? And how do I start? So it's just so heartening that parents want to raise early readers, early book lovers, and start early now. And as early as I've had a question from a mother of a 15-day-old baby who asked, is it too early to start reading to my baby? And I said, no, it isn't, because no, she's asked for, 5-week-old baby, my bad. So I said, no, it isn't, because I started when my baby was 15 days old, so don't worry at all. It's all about reading out to your baby, and a lot of expecting moms read to their babies when they're inside. So it's about the bonding, the communication and all. What you read is not even important at that time, you know. And another very interesting question we've been getting recently and frequently is, at home we talk in our mother tongue, and most books we have are in English. Now, how do you read and make your child understand? So that question. So what I love is we have so many curated threads on that. So I just share all those threads with, there are already 50 parents have commented and shared their inputs, their experiences, but parents keep adding on to it every time. And we tell them that basically you need to read in English, explain everything in mother tongue, and keep explaining words. Um, we recommend Tulika's bilingual books big time because they're they're beautiful. The stories are lovely, and it really helps kids, with transitioning. And what we keep telling parents is that young children actually pick up different languages very fast. So as long as they're persistent, they keep reading to the child, that's important. Another question we keep getting is, my child is not interested in reading. I give the child the book, she throws it away, or he tears off the pages. And also, it's about, especially with first-time parents, they don't realize that every child is going through a mouthing phase, teething, wants to explore everything else, or doesn't want to sit in one spot and read like a good child, So so we sit them down and tell them not to fret, and they have to keep trying and mixing up engagement activities. Keep your books with your toys, and don't make reading such a big task. The problem is in India, we're obsessed with learning, lesson padho, so we tell them that reading is fun. It's not a task. So, yeah, so I guess, and they have to, and everybody needs to just keep reading to their children. The good thing is we have a lot of blogs, helpful blogs on the site where other parents have shared how they got their own kids hooked, what tricks and tips work for them, what kind of engagement activities do they do, how do they do a read aloud, and we have a lot of read alouds as well on the Facebook group. So we keep sharing those links with them so that they get an idea that how a mother makes her child sit in her lap, and how she, modulates her voice, and how she sort of dramatizes the whole thing, how you change voices and animate. So you sort of, it's basically everybody becomes a part of everyone's reading journey.
Like, you're saying reading early. I started reading to my kid the day I got her back from the hospital. And the reason for that was not because I wanted to make her a big reader, but it was only because this was the first infant that I was coming in contact with, and I really didn't know how to play with an infant, And then everyone around me kept telling me that you have to keep talking to her and she needs to hear your voice. So I was like, I can't just sit in a room and keep speaking with this child who is asleep half the time. And then, my husband and I discovered that the best way to do was to just keep reading books, because she wants to hear our voice, she's hearing them, and at the same time, we are also engaged in doing something. So it wasn't necessarily like kids' books. Sometimes we would just pick up our own novels and start reading to her. And how that has worked now is that at 3.5 years, my child is not only interested in the books that are colorful and with pictures, which are appropriate for her age, she still wants to listen to the books that I'm reading, because she's used to, and then, she'll suddenly pick up some words, just some big, heavy word that she doesn't even understand, but she will just pick it up and she'll start using it with such confidence as if, she knows her stuff, etc. Asha, if you could, briefly about the...
In fact, I want to remind you, Itika, I remember when I heard you had become a mom, I pinged you in Twitter in our messages, and I asked you how's it going, and you told me that you're reading the Economic Times to her, so I was like, super, So I remember that.
My daughter can say repo rate, my daughter can say Shaktikant Das, my daughter can say Reserve Bank, because that's what I keep reading. Sometimes I'm editing a story, she walks it on me, and I start reading that. Now she's not the age that I can fool her. Earlier I could fool her to keep listening. Once upon a time, there was Narendra Modi. Now she's just like, not this story, another story. Right. So actually, one of the things that I feel is really unique and interesting about Kids Book Cafe is the whole piece about age appropriate books, because a lot of times when I'm browsing through Amazon and looking at books and what to buy, I do get confused as what is right for my kid's age. Uh, Sometimes I have burnt fingers. I've ordered a book and then it has come and then I've realized that this is below her understanding level, or I know a friend of mine ordered a novel for herself, which turned out to be a kid's book, and she was just like, I didn't know the title sounded like it was grown up book, etc. Or not everyone is savvy enough to sort of look at a book on Amazon and decide what is book it is.
Exactly.
Could you talk to me about the importance of age appropriate books and why KBC sort of stresses so much on it, and why you've clearly invested a lot of time in building that part out of for parents, for your community?
So I saw the gap. It's as simple as that. I saw the gap and I realized that just because that whole thing, I think the whole insight came from our link share kar do. Now,
Mm-hmm.
not everybody is a reader, not everybody has the bandwidth. Just think of a mother who has a 1-year-old kid who's just learned how to walk or is crawling around trying to stick his fingers in electrical sockets. How is that mother going to go through, search in Amazon, check a review, read the synopsis, scroll down, see what age group it's meant for? I mean, that is just asking for too much. So that was the whole problem. That was the whole idea of solving, that problem. That taking away the pain. So that whole, so like in startup lingo, we keep saying that, you want to do, for me, I was very clear. I wanted to do a niche community and be narrow and deep. So solve every single little pain point and run it as an experiment to see how peer-to-peer recommendations work. So, touchwood, that has worked out beautifully, building trust. I think because, I'm used to, I've been building communities for a long time, so those things came easy. So therefore, people then trust you. And another thing is, if I don't know what age it is, I just ask. At the end of the day, wisdom of the crowd. Has anybody read this book? What age do you think it is? And it's not like all the age group that's given on Amazon is sacrosanct. Sometimes you feel that, plus every child has their own, what you call reading level, which is why you need to give an age group. So there are certain books that say it's 10 plus, but if you are an avid reader or an advanced reader at 8, you will read it. Now again with Harry Potter, everybody, all the experts I've seen, all the Potterheads, everybody swears that you should give a Harry Potter book to your child when he or she is 8 years old. But there are parents who have started at 6 and are very happy with the first 2 versions, especially the illustrated editions. That they tell you, my child has read it, don't worry, it's not dark, it's not scary, and the first 2 ones can be read at 6. You can wait till for the third one, that kind of a thing. So that whole thing of wisdom of the crowd, whatever, everybody shares their own experiences, that helps. And even though when I look back, I didn't have many board books for my child when she was below 2. There are books that she has not read, so-called age-appropriate books. In fact, when she was like, say, you started with Economic Times. When she was 15 days old, I started with whatever children's books I had from my childhood, which are still in my shelf. I don't let her it in her shelf. But yeah, it's amazing that now everything is not just age appropriate, I'm saying issue appropriate. All of those issues. There's a book to solve every single problem under the sun. And the more I research, the learning curve is huge. The more I research, the more I probably myself that, oh my God, I wish I had this book when, my child was a toddler.
And also, I feel like the kids' books these days are so much more sensitive and intelligent than they were
Yes.
when I was kids. Like you're saying, I also have a set of books that from my childhood that I never let my kid touch, but I am not even sure if I want her to read those because those are mostly just like, those English author stories or not so educated fairy tales of knight in shining armors that I was raised on. But nowadays,
Yep.
I mean, the books are so intelligent and they are so sensitized. They are so sensitized about caste and color, skin color, etc., which is just amazing. I mean, sometimes I feel like when I'm reading these books, my own concepts are getting cleared, my own understanding of these issues is getting clear, and it's so nice that our kids will be raised with these beliefs. They won't have to undo and learn again, etc. Like I remember, I mean, this Diwali book that recently you had recommended to me, Amma, tell me about Diwali. I got that book
Yeah.
last week. It is amazing. So, like I was telling you, I was reading about books about gods and goddesses, etc. But that book has everything about gods and goddesses, but it has a beautiful message at the end about how simply lighting diyas on Diwali is not going to bring you wealth and prosperity, and hard work and dedication and honesty is also very important. So it's just amazing that, like books that we were raised on were not dealing with such complex thought processes. They were just boy meets girl, boy saves girl, etc. like that. So that's
Yeah,
wonderful.
yeah. No, it's amazing. The kind of, I think Indian kitlet has arrived. The kind of, what you may call, the kind of diverse topics that they talk about, whether it's bullying, there's so many children with differences, introvert kids, kids who are stammering. It just teaches you acceptance in such a beautiful way. There's a book called Kayu's World is Round by Lavanya and Lavanya Kapahi, and it's so beautiful. It's simple. The art is, and it introduces you to the concept of autism in the most subtle way. Nowhere is it said is, this boy has autism. It's just about how he's obsessed with circles. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, I even while talking to you, I get goosebumps. I mean, like, it's beautiful, and we didn't have sensitive topics, or we weren't exposed to them. I don't know. I mean, being in India, maybe we didn't get all those fancy imported books at that time, and we got only Enid Blyton. But it's just amazing how when you read a book by an Indian author, how you can relate to it. The
Yeah.
language, the whole flavor, the texture, the whole scenario that and also like if Lalita Iyer writes, that she's using words like amma or something. It's just so nice. There's this book of hers, Tatha's Pumpkin.
Mm-hmm.
Party. It's just so beautiful, and it's all about a pumpkin, but she takes you through a whole story where all the neighbors are from different parts of the country. The illustrations show it. The fact that you give a slice of pumpkin to them and they all want to make something different from it shows the culture difference. Everything is just so beautiful. So I could I end up ordering a for myself. It's just I have a
That's what I was saying. It's just amazing how we grown up women are so fascinated with kids' books. And like I also keep questioning, am I ordering these books for my daughter or am I just being greedy myself because I want to read? But tell me, Asha, how was your relationship with books when you were a kid, and what do you think reading did for you as a kid?
Yeah, so for me, I grew up in a very beautiful campus in a small dusty town called Anand, but the campus was like an international campus. It was the National Dairy Development Board campus. So we had a beautiful library stocked up with amazing books. So by the time I was 9, I had finished all of Enid Blyton and kissed 8 or 9, I'd kissed her goodbye. I had moved to Tintin. Then I, quickly moved on to Agatha Christie. We didn't have YA, young adult books didn't exist, and so um, I was a voracious reader. So I remember we used to do two or three things, We used to read, we used to ride a bike, like we used to cycle a lot. We used to play badminton and we used to roam around in the campus. So reading, and we had only Doordarshan, so wo to sham ko at 1 hour, only 2 hours, whatever. So reading was everything. I met amazing people at the library. I would look forward going to the library every second day. You're allowed 2 books. So yeah, every second day, third day, whatever. So it was, I know what books did to me is it gave me wings. I was always in some fantasy land. I know that I owe everything, my imagination, everything comes from the fact that I read. And I never knew I would become a writer, but the funny part is in my family, though everyone reads and writes, I'm the only one who's written as a profession, written for a profession. So it's quite funny. And I know that I wouldn't have been so creative had I not read so much. When I look at it now, I mean, now I consume most of my stuff digitally. So by the end of the day, it's like when I take a book, I take only kidlit books now. And when I do, I know that I'm going to fall dead in any case in 10 minutes. So what I have noticed with my child and their generation is because they have so many other distractions. They've got the internet. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have mobile phones, They have so many other distractions. She uses my Kindle when we travel. They don't consume books the way we did. That's the thing. We were like, हम चाटते थे books को, एक word, I don't see them relishing books. Like she reads a good book and she's like, wow. So, I recently I gave her Fly Away Boy, which is a teen book. And she read it and she put it down and she said, I don't know what to say, Mom. I said, right? Like, so what? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like she says, I've never read such a kind of book before. And I know that for a few hours she was quiet and she was, sort of introspecting. And I was very happy about that. So, okay, books are making her think. Like I don't know. I mean, you probably would remember when a suitable boy came out, and all of us. I mean, me and my friends, we would be discussing every character, every page we read. Every day. I don't see that happening. That's missing from this generation. But I still feel as long as we're able to expose them. She herself, my child, for a couple of years, she always says that Mom, whenever I read a good book, I can see that I use better words, my vocabulary is improved, and I write better in my essays and letter writing. So, I mean, these are all proven things, but when your own child tells you that, that's a huge validation.
So, right. I'll just take 1 minute, Asha, and say hi to everybody who's been sending us waves for the last 30 minutes. We are in the last 10 minutes, and thank you to everyone who joined. I saw a lot of familiar faces, a lot of my moms with whom I have unending WhatsApp conversations about which book next. And I have been promoting Kids Book Cafe to them because it's such a wonderful resource to have. So just a shout out to everybody. Thank you so much for coming and listening to us. Let's talk about the last 2 things that I wanted to talk to you, Asha, about. One is about, parents who are not in metros. So for parents like me who live in metro cities, people who live in Delhi, Bombay, it's easy, or Bangalore, it's easy for us to have more exposure to books or bookstores, etc. But there are a lot of kids being raised in rural India, and parents globally, everywhere, in a village, a city, an island, have the same ambitions or expectations of their kids. They all want their kids to have the best. How do you think online communities such as yours can help parents beyond cities? And have you seen engagement from like smaller towns and cities on Kids Book Cafe?
Heaps. So while Facebook Insights probably they share that most of our members are from Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi. Actually, Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore is how it is. Yeah, Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore are the three top cities, and the rest of the seven are Pune, Chennai, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, Kolkata, Jaipur, Ahmedabad. So again, metros, many metros, right? All of these places have good bookstores, all of these places have good libraries, all of these places have good book events, something like we constantly miss that in Goa, right? But we have excellent children's libraries here in Goa. So therefore, you know, when I go to Goa, immediately the first thing we do is we hit all the book fairs and the book events. You go to, you know, International Habitat Center and, you know, meet the authors, meet the publishers, you know, do all of that. Here that's limited, even though we have lit fests here in Goa, there's a children's section. Now coming to the cities where nothing like this happens, where there are no good bookstores, where there are maybe smaller bookstores, and where there are no children's libraries, that's exactly where a community, an online community helps, because these parents, they really want to know. And it's not just FOMO, you know, they really want their children to read books that, because not all schools also are equipped with contemporary books, like, you know, they're all ancient, dusty books, right? I like any good content person, I've always been in love with Google Analytics, and I love watching time. So that's when I can see Vijayawada, Nagpur, Ludhiana. I even saw Darbhanga. I took a screenshot of that and sent it to a friend of mine who's from originally from Darbhanga. So I was like, you know, this, and I see Rawalpindi, and I'm like, wow, how amazing is that? You know, for people from all over the world to come to your site and actually read, even if they're not buying books, you know, even if they just, you know, get the insights shared by other people, do a lot of curated threads, you know, wisdom of the crowd. If somebody's like, for suppose somebody asks, someone passed away, like a mother, a parent in our group, her grandfather passed away, and she was going to take her 3-year-old to her parents' house. And so how do you explain the concept of death or separation or sadness? So, you know, you curate a thread, then everybody says, oh, this book helped me, that book helped me, this helped me, you know, so you curate a thread, or somebody just posts something as basic, which is not, which is actually a huge milestone and a huge challenge that one faces, is how do I potty train my child? You know, huge milestone, it's exhausting.
It's not big. Ask the mother of a 3.5-year-old. It's a very big challenge.
Exactly. I with my child, every milestone was a huge drama. And till date, I keep telling her, I mean, you're such a DQ drama queen. I'm like, you know, and I sit back and I remember, I'm like, why? I kick myself. Why didn't I find a book? Why didn't it occur to me to find a book? But, you know, at that time, you're just struggling with too many things. It doesn't occur to you. So I feel so happy when somebody says, guys, I am tired of cleaning potty. Is there a book that can help me? And I have a curated list of 40 books that can help, you know, and then somebody will say this one, hey, pick up this one, you know, this worked for me, you know. So that's, you know, everybody has a fussy eater at home. I said, yeah, we have to solve this problem for everybody. So I started doing research, and there's so many books, you know, from Charlie and Lola that says, I'm never going to eat a tomato, you know, and my child still doesn't eat a tomato. I need to get that book, you know, even though it's for preschoolers. But it's just amazing, you know, how books actually impact. And there are beautiful books on first experiences. Topsy and Tim visit the doctor, the dentist, Then there's the Berenstain Bears. Everybody says they're preachy, but they actually work. Or, how do I get my child to brush her teeth? So Pepper has a toothache, Pepper brushes his teeth. Those kind of books. Sibling rivalry. How do you prepare your elder child for the new baby that's coming? There are so many books on that. And the greatest thing is that if you're able to create one impact story a day where you get a post saying, thank you for recommending this book, it helped my child. There's nothing sweeter than that, especially when children are starting daycare or starting school, they have separation anxiety. All these books, everybody has, this book helped me. Or when toddler tantrums, we have lots of books on that, hands are not for hitting, vagera, vagera. So these are real problems. A techpreneur might laugh and say these are not problems, but these are real problems for a parent. And if you can solve a parent's problem by one book, that's why I keep saying we're raising readers together, one child at a time, one book at a time.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And now I'm going to ask you the last and the most difficult question of this conversation, Asha. Which is your favorite kids' book these days?
Lots. I kept 4.
I know this is with the most hard question.
No, there are lots, and they keep changing. But these are some that I ordered for myself as well. I'm horrible. This book is for 5+. Okay, I need to pee. You need to get that, Itika. You have
I've
it?
got.
You have.
You recommended it 2 weeks back. I already have it.
Okay, so this is 5+. It is. I got this because somebody posted a review. I had never read it. So a member posted a review and she shared all the inside pages. When I ordered it and I got it, I said, oh my God, this is the most beautifully executed book ever. Not just the concept, not just the story, the art. And I gave it to my child. I said, whenever you're stuck on how to do a project, pick up this book. It's that inspiring, and it's very empowering that you won't believe it, 5-year-olds in our group, people who have ordered the book as per our recommendations, the kids have been drawing cartoon sketches of the main character Rahi, and they keep posting it. So nice, That's why I keep saying we're not just a reading community, we're a reading, writing, and a creative community. So that's one book. So this is a must read for every 8-year-old and 9-year-old girl, if not guy. Girls have these relationship issues right from, when they're in 3rd standard. This whole possessiveness of she's my best friend or she, So these are real problems. And we grew up with them. We've forgotten them. We used to cry. We used to complain to the teacher. We used to sulk. But these kids, I think kids nowadays are really mean, or it's just because I'm a parent now that my heart bleeds when, when my child was 8 and she used to come home and she used to tell me, what happened, So I wish she had this book then. But I bought it a couple of years ago, and Aarti Sonthalia's books for 7 to 10 years old, she somehow gets the tween stage like nobody. And she really, really touches a huge chord with the parents and the children. So yeah, I highly recommend that. This is my most favorite book from 2019. This is A Cloud Called Pura by Bijal Vachirajani. This is I call it a tween thriller on climate change, It's ideally to 14, but you can start if your child is an avid reader, even 8-year-olds. The whole thing, I have never, ever, so I read it before my child did. I have never, ever come across in a book by an Indian author where the lingo is so close to, the tween lingo. And I couldn't believe it. I said, oh my God, this sounds exactly like my child. And so when I gave the book to my child and I said, read the first chapter and give me some feedback, she said the same thing. Mom, I've never read a book that gets us. And the beauty was, it was on a topic that nobody talks about, climate change. And it's fast paced, it's interesting, it's an adventure. It's like, nobody wants to put the book down. And at the end of the book, my child actually made notes and thought about ways where she can, be more environment friendly. So that till date, now that we don't have a maid, we don't have a cook. So, when we're in the kitchen, we're recycling water. I mean, our plants get all the vegetable dhoya hua pani. So it's quite nice, So all of this came from that. There's another book, highly recommend again. So these are duckbill whole books. 5 plus, 6 plus. This is 5 plus, 6 plus, 7 plus, depending they're different issues. This one is funny, really funny. It's easy to read.
The title of the book to us, because
Timmy and Tangles. Timmy and Tangles. Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
So Timmy and Tangles by Shals Mahajan, and you should look at the it's just so easy to read, beautiful illustrations are great. It's funny. And also it talks about the fact that she's being brought up by a single mother in the most, it's a sensitive way. It's just so nice. Kids nowadays, they need to understand that our families are not like our parents' families or their grandparents' families. So they need to be more accepting. So we need more of these books that are funny. They talk about a girl who has imaginary friends. There's Idli Amma who secretly eats all the idlis. There are books that talk about fun charts. There's just so much, and it's important for the child to be creative, for the child to have fun. Like I said, reading should not be a task. They have to be fun. They're your companions. So there are these certain books, even though my child has outgrown them, so there is a shelf, she has a bookshelf that's, her near and dear books are there. So I had to, pick them up from there. And the books, of course, that she's outgrown, they're in another bookshelf. But they're just too many. But these are must reads. It's amazing how most of our lives we've been led to believe that we need to, there are classics that we should read, or there are imported books that we have to read. You must read. Even I promote a lot of imported books because I know that they're important to read. Like Dr. Sewell's, everybody has to read. But I'm big on Indian authors, and I know it's a challenge to introduce new authors to kids as they grow older. So my, parting advice to all young parents is try to introduce kids to as many authors and as many genres early on. It makes they're open. It makes them more open to reading across the board.
Great, Asha. I think we've come to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for taking out your time, and this was interesting. Any conversation with you is always interesting, but this was particularly interesting, and I think everyone who was here benefited from it. You can all join Kids Book Cafe's Facebook community. You can follow Kids Book Cafe on Instagram at the Kids Book Cafe, or Asha at Asha Chaudhry. We will make sure that the link of the conversation is available to you, and the link for Kids Book Cafe and the Facebook community is made available to you. Thank you so much, Asha. You have a great evening, and thanks to everyone who joined this evening. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Itika. Bye.